Hey y'all, so today we're going to be making a goat cheese cheesecake with a rosemary Ritz cracker crust. So what you're going to need is to take 2 sleeves of Ritz crackers, and you're just going to want to blitz them in your food processor or bash them in a Ziploc bag with a rolling pin, whatever you prefer. And to your crushed crackers, you're going to add 1/3 cup of brown sugar, 1/3 cup of granulated sugar, and a half a stick of butter, guys, because we're not playing any games. So you're just going to pulse those up until they become a really nice texture. Then you're going to add 1/3 cup of rosemary oil. And if you don't have rosemary oil on hand, I do have a video on how you can make it. So go over and give it a watch when you're done with this. So once everything pulses together and it becomes the texture of wet sand, you know you've done your job. And it's now time to transfer all this goodness into a springform pan or a silicone mold. So you're just going to want to smooth it out, make sure there's no lumps, no bumps, and take it, set it in the refrigerator until you're ready for it. Now in a chilled bowl, I'm going to add 5 egg whites, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and I'm just going to take my egg beater and I'm going to beat it until I have very stiff peaks. Like, you might get to this point, think you're done, but you're not. You're going to keep mixing until you can make some bunny ears and then put them in the fridge until you're ready. Now we're on to the star of our dessert, which is some River's Edge Chèvre. And this is super creamy. It's almost like the consistency of like a triple cream. It is to die for, but the rind is covered in ash and the texture is quite waxy, and I think it's going to be extremely unpleasant in a dessert. So you're going to want to take the goat cheese out of the rind carefully, because you don't want to lose all that delicious creamy goat cheese, because the stuff was pretty expensive. But you could use whatever kind of goat cheese you'd like. I just feel this has a very strong flavor. Now we're going to add our tried and true ride or die block of cream cheese, and this was about 3 containers worth, so I believe that's 12 ounces, and the rest of our Chèvre. Next we're going to take some Madagascar vanilla, but you can use any kind of vanilla you want. And I meant to add a teaspoon, but of course you can see I spilled a little in. And of course that's not the end of the world. So next we're going to add about 5 egg yolks, and you're just going to whisk those up, beat them like they owe you some money. And now I'm going to add another 3 ounces of Chèvre goat cheese. And now that it's all nicely combined and it's silky and smooth, I'm going to start folding in my egg white. And you're going to gently fold in those egg whites. You don't want to over combine, because you want for them to be almost like little ribbons throughout the cream cheese mixture so that your cheesecake rises. This is kind of like in between a New York style cheesecake and a Japanese cheesecake. It's honestly neither, but it's amazing. Like, the texture is really light, airy, and soft, but you still have a little bit of that density from all the creaminess of the cheese. This is definitely an awesome recipe, and I'm really pleased that I came up with it, because it's now mine and my husband's like favorite thing. So now we're just going to fill our ring mold, and while we're doing that, our oven is preheating to 425 degrees, and there's also a casserole dish with about 1 inch of water in it, and that's just to keep the oven moist while you're baking your cheesecake. It's supposed to prevent cracks, but you'll see it didn't help me, but that's because I was insecure that my cheesecake was done, so it split. But it still tastes amazing, so we're just going to go ahead and put that into the oven, and we're just going to start on a blackberry coulis. So I already have some simple syrup boiling. It was about 1.5 cups of simple syrup, and to that I'm going to add 8 ounces of pureed blackberries into a strainer until I end up with something like this. And 45 minutes later, my cheesecake is done. It still has a nice wobble, but it did crack, and that's because of the wobbly nature. I wasn't 100% sure that it was done, but it came out perfectly, and it was beautiful. Guys, I can't stress how important it is to let this baby rest. I made this cheesecake about 3 or 4 different times until I got it right, and I literally had to let it sit for 45 minutes because of the nature of this creamy cheesecake. If you cut into it too quickly, it's going to fall apart. But as you can see, everything turned out well. And pro tip, you're going to want to line it with the parchment paper because it just makes everything so much cleaner and easier. So yeah, I also changed my name from Awkward in the Kitchen into West Coast Melting Pot because I just feel like it's a better fit. You know, I'm from California, I live in Alaska, I've lived in Oregon. I just feel like West Coast Melting Pot suits me a lot better, and what better way to celebrate life than to be true to yourself and change up the name. So yeah, if you haven't done it already, guys, follow me on Instagram at West Coast Melting Pot, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't done it already. Thanks for watching. Peace, y'all.